These 16 poems are dedicated to every child in the world. You have the right to live in dignity and comfort with loved ones, free from violence, fear, and trauma. They're also in memoriam to every child everywhere who has been sacrificed on the altar of the great Mammon. May your sacrifice never be in vain. You're gone, but not forgotten. 14 of these poems, which I call the collective of History on Rewind, are raw, unedited, and written as given, as inspired, over a span of less than 2 days in December 2023. They are as stark as the images and sounds from recent conflicts in different parts of the world. Sounds and images that have seared the hearts, minds, and consciousness of most of the world. They were given without favor or fear, not to judge but to exhort us to stop the madness and insanity of waging war on the innocents, especially our children, whether in the ones, tens, or the tens of thousands, with nary a dash of empathy, love, remorse, or shame. Children should never be prisoners or captives, no matter the spin. War is to be waged between combatants, not on children and other innocents, no matter the spin of collateral damage or human shields. Their refuge should never be defiled, and that includes their homes and hospitals, schools, and places of worship, no matter the reason or excuse. They should never be denied care or medicine, much less water, proper shelter, warm clothing, and food. It is our duty to take care of all children and to protect them, not harm them. We should aspire to virtue, and these poems want us and exhort us to aspire to virtue. These poems show the need for justice, humility, unconditional forgiveness, and love, virtues that are so lacking but so vital for a peaceful and prosperous world for all of humanity, all of us, to the exclusion of none. We must respect the differences in each other. We are but tenants on this earth, tenants who need to take care of each other and our temporary home, this planet called Earth. Let us be good tenants. Always adhere to the divine principles of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, doing unto others as we would have others do unto us. Love. I am my brother's keeper. We are our brother's keeper. And as brief as their sojourn was, may all the innocents in their tiny shrouds, irrespective of the masks, illuminate your mirror, our mirror of self-reflection, one divine, universal love. Too much for the earth. Weary world, floods of blood, seas and oceans of tears, mountains of sorrows overlooking valleys of fears, weary of wars, weary of the inundation, mountains collapsing under the weight of sorrows, calling for renewal, volcanoes of anger erupting, spewing ashes, lavae of wrath and retribution, deserts of ambiguity and anonymity, covering oases of serenity, overtaking jungles of unknown, jungles of uncertainty, rivers of tears flowing and icebergs of calm melting into seas and oceans, waves and tides of confusion, earthquakes purging, coughing up the overfill of corpses, the overfill of innocent victims, too much for the earth to digest. Now we begin the collective of history on rewind. Madmen and revenge. Madmen doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Violence on the right, violence on the left, violence of no direction, still the same violence. Violence with excuse, violence with reason. Violence begets violence. More violence begets more violence. Revenge, eye for an eye, tit for tat. The imposter justice of man. Madmen doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. History, a broken record. History on rewind. History repeating itself. Lessons never learned. Through the darkness. No light to find my way in the darkness. The darkness of man's cruelty to man. The darkness of a conscience in hiding. A conscience hiding from the light. No light to find my way in the darkness. The only light comes from the sky. A light that leads to an early grave. Never again, but yet again. Giving way to hope. Cruelty and hate give way to forgiven love when reach end of rope. Grunt from center being. So much pain, so much sorrow, so much suffering, so much carnage, so much wanton cruelty, so much gratuitous violence, so much acquiescence, so much indifference, so many cynical games, so much hypocrisy, sights that blind me, sounds that deafen me, rendered voiceless, speechless, increduled, can only muster grunts, grunts emanating from the center of my being, causing my heart to lift in prayer to the higher powers. Every rope has an end, no matter its length. Justice is nigh. All are subject to the clock of the universe, sooner rather than later. It is well. Weaponized. Souls from the low rung of the ladder of soul evolution. Souls who have come to partake of the goodness, not of the toil. Souls believing they can cheat karma. Souls who have come to weaponize historical grudges, prejudices, suffering, and victimhood, so that history will always repeat itself. A broken record. Never again, but yet again. Historical grudges, prejudices, suffering, and victimhood. Weaponized. Weaponized to create new victims. Weaponized to co-opt identity. Weaponized to create confusion between pretender and heir. Weaponized to erase the history of others. Weaponized to recreate history in our image. Weaponized to coerce atonement through silent acquiescence. Silent acquiescence to further inhumanity. Weaponized to maximize ill-placed guilt. Weaponized to bully. Weaponized to colonize. Weaponized to oppress. Weaponized to rape, pillage, and burn. Weaponized to be lawless. Weaponized to be inhumane. Weaponized to force compliance. Weaponized to silence the truth tellers. Weaponized to copyright suffering and victimhood. Weaponized to patent brutality and persecution. Weaponized to monopolize suffering and victimhood. Weaponized to escape scrutiny. Weaponized to repeat tenfold the crimes of history without critics. Weaponized to commit atrocities in the glaring sun of broad daylight. Weaponized to commit atrocities without the secrecy of the dark of night. weaponized to repeat history. We should forgive, but not forget. Weaponized to silence the critics, weaponized to escape accountability, weaponized to project abuser onto victim and victim onto abuser, weaponized to keep boots on the necks of the innocent while crying wolf, weaponized to rob the have-nots of the nothing that they have, weaponized to further dispossess the dispossessed, weaponized to rob the sick and the dying of the peace that they seek and deserve, weaponized to kill the dead over and over again, weaponized to steal the future of the children, weaponized to camouflage ignoble intent and agendas. Never again, but yet again, always again. Miss Thomas Puss. Tick tock goes Miss Thomas clock. Miss Thomas psychopathic puss, not the first and not the last, drunk with delusions of omnipotency, sitting on its high seat of hubris. Miss Thomas Puss, not the first and not the last, sitting on its high seat of hubris, legislating when to cry, legislating when to laugh, legislating what and how to think, legislating the moisture from the sky, dominion over beasts of the field, dominion over the human animals, dominion over the trees and the grass, dominion over the fowls of the air, dominion over the fish in the sea. Miss Thomas psychopathic puss, not the first and not the last, roaring from its high seat of hubris. Open season on the human animals. Let the games begin. Hide and seek. You hide. Puss will seek. Counting 1, 2, 3, not to 10. Puss makes the rules. Ready or not, here Puss comes. Whoops! Peekaboo! Puss sees you. Fooled ya. East, west, north, south. Cornered. No place to run. No place to hide. Open season. Who shall go first? Little one or big one? Pick off by ones or by twos? AI, you decide. No place to run. No place to hide. Better a culling from Puss' brightened sky. More impressive, more efficient. Less time to waste. Many more cruel, sadistic games to play. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Ooh, Miss Thomas' clock just stopped. Whoops! Miss Thomas, omnipotent, psychopathic puss, not the first and not the last, just fell off its high seat of hubris. Impotent, psychopathic puss, your time is up. The universe keeps ticking. It never stops. Miss Thomas, psychopathic puss, not the first and not the last, never again, but yet again, always again. We can go no further than the length of our rope. The vampire that is revenge. The vampire that is revenge, with its loyal foot soldiers, followers, and spectators. Psychopaths in suits and uniforms, sanctioned by the halls of power to kill victims in the thousands and the millions. The mangled and crushed, the bulldozed bodies, bulldozed while wounded, sick and dying, lying on their beds of rubble, cement and dirt, under their houses of cloth, drenched with rain, the rotting flesh of newborns still attached to useless tubes in incubators, newborn shrouded on beds covered in debris of fallen ceilings, broken glass, shrapnel and spent shells. The wounded with open worm-filled sores, the headless bodies of children and dolls decapitated, heads blown away as they slept in their beds, flying limbs of dehydrated children, mutilated from the sky as they stand in line waiting for water. The fluid of life denied them by Miss Thomas' psychopathic puss. The carnage, caring for the jackals, hyenas, and vultures, the opportunistic scavengers as they gather, congregate, bulldozers, shovels, and plans for concrete metal covered pens to corral the human animals, to be surveilled with tools more sophisticated than the branding iron of long ago, but branding nonetheless. The rubble streets, the graves of so many innocents, bulldozers to crush the helpless and cover the crime, the permanently traumatized, the children whose flesh have been permanently pierced, tattooed with stones, dust, rubble, metal, and wood, all trophies for the vampire that is revenge, its bloodlust, a bottomless pit, trophies for the loyal foot soldiers and followers, history's psychopaths and sadists, cloaked in their suits and uniform, protected and sanctioned by the halls of power, trophies for the loyal followers, cloaked in their jeans, t-shirts, and dresses, proof of the power of the wares for the buyer, wares for the spectators, the patrons and eager buyers, a large showroom for the weapons of destruction and dehumanization, a large live showroom for weapons of oppression and slavery, precise and deficient, some not. A large showroom of patrons and eager buyers eager to create their own bloodied knife point tableaus painted with the bright red blood of the innocents, tableaus painted with the white, the yellow, the brown, and the green, and all the other colors in between, of pus, of sputum, of feces, of urine, pus, sputum, feces, and urine, and other bodily fluids of the last gasps of the innocents, the last gasps of the sting of death. O death, where is thy sting? O grave of rubble, where is thy victory? Landscapes of raised orchards, groves, and vineyards, covered with the burnt corpses of animals and birds, landscapes of mounds of rubble dotted with exposed limbs, the graves of those buried alive while they slept in their beds, landscapes of sewage-filled streets and hospital yards, sewage-filled streets and hospital yards littered with more than 20 and 4,000 rotting corpses, more than 20 and 4,000 rotting, maggot-covered corpses, the rotting, maggot-covered corpses of mothers and babies, of fathers and children, of aunts, uncles, and cousins, of brothers and sisters, of grandparents and friends, tableaus of the more than 60,000 imprisoned and in limbo between the land of the living and the land of the dead. A large showroom for the eager buyers of the art of destruction, so they too can paint their own tableaus painted with bright red blood of the innocents, tableaus painted with the white, the yellow, the brown, and the green, the white, the yellow, the brown, and the green, and all the other colors in between, of pus, sputum, feces, urine, and other bodily fluids of the last gasps of the innocents, the last gasps of the sting of death. O death, where is thy sting? O grave of rubble, where is thy victory? The art of destruction, total destruction in so little time. The vampire that is revenge, with its loyal foot soldiers, followers, and spectators, history's psychopaths and sadists, cloaked in suits, uniforms, jeans, t-shirts and dresses, eager sellers and eager buyers of the art of destruction, all in the service of the great Mammon. Lessons never learnt, history a broken record, history on rewind, history repeats itself, never again, but yet again, never again, always again. Moderation. Small rose stands untouched. Through eye of big hurricane, big breadfruit tree falls. Distant fires, light distant fires, men in ivory towers, innocents get burnt. Our brother in the garden. Our brother in the garden, shedding tears for the hundreds, rightly so. So much empathy for these lost innocents, justly and deservedly so. Yet, our brother in the garden, not a tear can he spare for the tens of thousands. His cup of empathy is dry, so not a drop left for those innocents, the others, the them. Our brother in the garden, why no tears? Why no empathy for the others, the them? Collateral damage, human shields, our brother in the garden says. The wretched of the earth in this go round, the dispossessed, not deserving, not worthy of a tear our brother chooses not to spare, not deserving, not worthy of a drop of empathy from his cup. Our brother in the garden, know this, in the eyes of the soul, the others and the them, the collateral damage and human shields, the dispossessed, the wretched of the earth in this go round are your brothers, our brothers. There is always a tear to spare. The cup of empathy can never run dry. The capacity to love is endless. That which I do unto my brother, I do unto myself. Our brother in the garden, see your children in the faces of all the children. For every child is yours. Every child is ours. Our brother in the garden, shed your tears for the hundreds and the tens of thousands. Have empathy for all the innocents. That which I do unto my brother, I do unto myself. We are our brother's keeper, without exception. May shrouds of light and a gentle breeze help you find the conscience from which you try to flee, hiding it in the dark behind the rose bush. Our brother with the forked tongue. Our brother with the forked tongue, speaking empty, hollow words of saving lives, but your hand brings weapons to sacrifice the lives of the dispossessed, to rob them of the little intangible hope they have, to rob them of the only tangible thing they do possess, life that we cannot create, but believe it is our right to destroy. Our brother with the forked tongue, with every tete-a-tete, another order, another delivery of weapons to commit the sacrifice, a camouflage to intensify the destruction, with every tete-a-tete, a wink, a nod, a camouflage, a destruction. Our brother with the forked tongue, do not be the holdout and the hold-up. Do not be the wolf in sheep's clothing. Silence your empty, hollow words of saving lives. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Your actions speak louder than your hollow words. Silence your hollow words colored with blame. Your actions betray your hollow words. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Do what you say and say what you do. The truth shall set you free. Two wrongs don't make a right. There is neither reason nor excuse for cruelty and murder. Your conscience that you have hidden, the conscience from which you try to flee, your conscience knows the truth. The truth cannot hide forever. Your conscience will soon find you. The truth shall set you free. Our brother with the forked tongue, the arsonist and fireman. You cannot be both. It must be one or the other. The arsonist with a replenished gas can, or the fireman with the empty water hose disconnected from a hydrant that has never worked. Or brother with the forked tongue, arsonist or fireman. You cannot be both. It must be one or the other. Or brother with the forked tongue, to you have been given great power. Of you is required even greater responsibility. So lay down the replenished gas can and connect the water hose. Turn on the hydrant and fill up the water hose, for revenge is a raging out of control fire, threatening to consume us all. Great power requires a functioning water hose, not a replenished gas can. Or brother with the forked tongue, say what you mean and mean what you say. Say what you do and do what you say. For great power requires a functioning water hose, not a replenished gas can. For revenge is a raging out of control fire, threatening to consume us all. Our brother with the forked tongue, to whom have been given great power, of him is required even greater responsibility. Rise up to virtue, sink no further in the abyss. Revenge is a vampire whose bloodlust is a bottomless pit. Our brother with the forked tongue, to you have been given great power. Of you, our brother with the forked tongue, is required even greater responsibility. Our brother with the forked tongue, the driver of the policy. Listen to your words, the words that gave away the jig. This is personal. Learn this and remember, personal is not a policy. Personal is never a policy. Personal leads to incorrect actions. Personal is petty. Pettiness is not a policy. Pettiness is not greatness. Greatness requires a functioning water hose, not a replenished gas can. Blame does not absolve you of the travesty and the complicity. Or brother with the forked tongue, aspire to greatness. Aspire to the justice of the universe, not the imposter justice of man. Aspire to virtue. True greatness is never petty. We can never aspire to petty. For petty and aspire can never be. Petty and aspire can never lie together in the same bed. Justice and virtue are greatness. Justice is virtue and virtue is justice. They lie together in the same bed. O brother with the forked tongue, arise and ascend to the throne of virtue. Fall not and descend into the abyss of infamy. O brother with the forked tongue, do not play that broken record. Do not put history on rewind. O brother with the forked tongue, only madmen keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Two wrongs do not make a right. Or brother with the forked tongue, your interpretation of history is wrong. Your lesson from history misguided. Do not become those whose actions you abhor. Do not repeat the mistakes of history. Do not be complicit. Change course. Hasten, hurry. Your time is running out. The tick-tock of your clock, the same clock that you have used to to measure the destruction and atrocities you have wrought upon tens of thousands of children and other innocents, a ratio of more than 20 to 1. Your answer, the unspeakable destruction and atrocities. Destruction and atrocities wrought upon the hundreds of children and other innocents. The rape, the pillage, the indescribable torture, the mutilations and killings of the children and other innocents, robbing the innocents of their identities, the opportunistic, cold-blooded murders of the youth, so many of them seeking peace, not the war, not the wanton violence wrought upon them, the elderly and the very young, the sick and the infirm, mothers, fathers, and children, taken away in golf carts, cars, motorbikes, and pickups, away into captivity. Our brother with the forked tongue, 2 wrongs do not make a right. Revenge is a vampire whose bloodlust is a bottomless pit. Cry for all the innocents. No life is more valuable than another. No matter the mass, all are created equal in the eyes of our Creator. Not my Creator, not your Creator, not their Creator, but our Creator. Our brother with the forked tongue, that clock, your clock, the more than 20 to 1 clock is about to stop. Our brother with the forked tongue, learn the correct lesson from history. Hurry and hasten, your time is running out. Before you too shall be locked away, locked up in history's dungeon of infamy and much karma, imprisoned with those you so abhor, those you have judged to be morally bankrupt, those you have judged to be standing on the low ground of your moral high ground. When put to the test, you are no different from them. Our brother with the forked tongue, make haste. Your time is indeed running out. Before you too shall be locked away in history's dungeon of infamy, haunted by the emaciated corpses with the sunken, hollow eyes of famine and starvation and thirst, haunted by the groans and the moans of suffering and pain, haunted by the lingering stench of disease and death. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? O brother with the forked tongue, make haste. Your time is running out. Before you too shall be locked away in history's dungeon of infamy, having to find your way back on that long, arduous, circuitous journey, the journey to redemption. All smoke in the mirror. The smoke in the mirror, the smoke, the callous, cruel games of mirage. Games of mirage we play with that which we can never create. The smoke, the spin, word games of verbal gymnastics and circusy contortions. Toothless laws for the powerful, fitted with powerful pincers only for the powerless. Toothless laws supervised and enforced by watchmen and enforcers. Watchmen and enforcers who need watchmen and enforcers. The powerful flouting the law while invoking it to control the powerless. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. Our children, they're minors and criminals. We the civilized, they the barbarians. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. Projection. Barbarians wrapped in the cloak of civilization. Victim unto abuser, abuser unto victim, abuser foot on the neck of the helpless, abuser cries wolf, laying siege to the already besieged. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. Deliberately do the crime, later empty apology, miscommunication, so you say. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. Collateral damage, human shields, copy and paste, cut and paste, faux outrage, selective outrage, staged and doctors, the mirage and the optics. Water pipes open but no fuel to operate the pump. Aid can enter, bomb the roads. No truck shall enter. Official escape routes on paper. Death traps in reality. Aid can enter, bomb the roads. No truck shall enter. Seize the necessities as contraband. Cruel, cynical games that guardians of civilization play. The optics, how I appear. Who cares about the dead and the dying? Propaganda left and right, propaganda galore, gaslighting, cacophony, lies, deceit, PR machine in overdrive, change the headline, change the subject, accusation and perp on the front page, vindication and freed on the back page, deliberate creation of conditions for justification, justification for human animals, artificial reality on the ground, total destruction, erasure of history and memories, starvation, disease, no respite, not even for the sick and the dying, death, execution, death from land, death from sea, death from the air. Even the dead must die again, twice, thrice. Kill the dead again, kill the dead over and over again. Forced to fight for survival, creation of subhuman conditions, become human animals just to survive, conditions to justify classification of human animals, Aristotelian, Buffonian, Jeffersonian, or Himmlerian. Dystopia is not coming. Dystopia is already here. The inhumanity of the paragons of civilization, the guardians of civilization, denying food and water even to the very young, the humanity of the barbarian human animals, sharing hard to come by piece of dry bread, sharing with starving monkeys and lions. Truly, left is right, right is left, up is down, down is up, in is out, out is in. Welcome to the world of topsy-turvy. Dystopia is not coming. Dystopia is already here. Geopolitics and politricks, diplocracy, forked tongue speaks empty, hollow words of saving lives. But the hand brings weapons to sacrifice the lives of the dispossessed, to rob them of the little intangible hope they have, to rob them of the only tangible thing they do possess, life. Life that we cannot create but believe it is our right to destroy. With every tete-a-tete, another order, another delivery of weapons to commit the sacrifice, a camouflage to intensify the destruction. With every tete-a-tete, a wink, a nod, a camouflage, plans for tomorrow when they can't make it past today, planning for tomorrow when there is no today, planning for the future when there is no present, distraction. There can be no tomorrow without a today. There can be no future without a present. There can only be history. History and your place in it. Your place in the history of infamy. The man with the forked tongue, the holdout and the holdup. The wolf in sheep's clothing. Empty hollow words of saving lives. But, hollow words of saving lives, colored with blame. Do not just hear, but listen. Do not just hear, but listen. Listen. Remember the blame? Remember the words? This is personal. To whom have been given great power, of him is required even greater responsibility. The driver of the policy. Learn this and remember. Personal is not a policy. The proof is in the pudding. Diplocracy exposed. Geopolitics and politricks. Never-ending tete-a-tete. Quibbling over letters, words, phrases, and sentences. Cross the already crossed T's. dot the already dotted I's, to run out the clock, cruel, sadistic, and cynical games with the lives of the innocents, lives we cannot create, but believe it is our right to destroy, lives we cannot create, but delight in destroying. Wink, wink, nod, nod, don't look. Give with one hand, take back with three. Look at the ones of millions over there. Don't look at the billions over here. The millions to sacrifice the sacrificial lambs. The billions to sacrifice. The millions to fatten the sacrificial lambs. The billions to sacrifice the lambs. The tens of thousands of sacrificial lambs. The more than 20 and 5,139 sacrificial lambs to lay on the altar of the great Mammon, are smoke in the mirror, never again, but yet again. Virtue. What is virtue? Justice without favor or fear. Truth without favor or fear. Objective reality without favor or fear. Honesty without favor or fear. Respect without favor or fear. Unconditional love without favor or fear. Unconditional forgiveness without favor or fear. Redemptive guilt without favor or fear. Humility without favor or fear. Kindness without favor or fear. Empathy without favor or fear. Duty to conscience without favor or fear. Who and what shall you see in the mirror? Let the wheat and the tares grow together until the time of harvest. The harvest has now come. With the tiny shrouds of light, we can now separate the wheat from the tares. The winds of change, long overdue, have arrived and wafted away the smoke. The tiny shrouds of light now illuminate the mirror. My brother, tell me, who and what shall you see in that mirror? Shall you see kettles and pots? Shall you see tares? Shall you see a brother whom you have judged to be bereft of morals, standing far below your perceived and selective moral high ground? Tell me, my brother, when the winds of change have wafted away the smoke and the tiny shrouds of light illuminate the mirror, shall you see a man whose head is bowed, weighed down by the crown of virtue too heavy for his head, on his knees, naked, for the cloak, that is the mantle of virtue, has fallen from shoulders too narrow? Shall you see a great pretender to the throne of virtue? Or shall you see neither pots nor kettles? Shall you see only the wheat? Shall you see a man who judges no one? A man who knows that two wrongs do not equal right? A man who leads by example without favor or fear? Tell me, my brother, when the winds of change have wafted away the smoke and the tiny shrouds of light illuminate the mirror, shall you see a man standing tall, with his head held high, the crown of virtue aloft, the cloak, that is the mantle of virtue, perched squarely on his broad shoulders, ascending effortlessly to take his place, a rightful heir to the throne of virtue? Let the wheat and the tares grow together until the time of harvest. When the winds of change have wafted away the smoke and the tiny shrouds of light illuminate the mirror, Who and what shall you see in the mirror? Yes, tell me, my brother, who and what shall you see in that mirror? Hate hitching a ride. Hate, a contagion, a cancer, metastasizing, an opportunistic bacteria, the cloud waiting to block the sun. Hate, waiting to hitch a ride on the train of love. Hate, the rat on its rat passage, hitching a ride on the boat to the plague. Hate, the bedbug waiting for our suitcase. Hate, the roach riding on our coattails. Hate, the shadow always lurking behind, sometimes longer than us. Hate, just lurking behind the thin curtain, waiting for its turn on center stage to take us to a place not so far away, a blast back from civilization to barbarism, from knowledge back to ignorance, from wisdom to imprudence. Hate never takes a holiday, always looking for the opportunity to hitch a ride on the train of love. Hate inhabits the same house as love within us. The hope. It is my hope, my greatest wish, that the world is at a turning point where the light of peace can cover the darkness of conflict and war. And while there will always be war until the last of us restores our soul, there might be less wars and more cooperation as we struggle with more challenging diseases, and the one that might be lurking under a rock, somewhere waiting to be released as waters recede and glaciers melt, drought and famine caused by climate change. Cooperation will be more beneficial than fighting. Unity will be required to meet the challenges we have to face from what appears to be an indomitable adversary of a climate in crisis and perhaps surprises from space. Once again, these poems are dedicated to every child everywhere in this world. You have the right to live in dignity and comfort with loved ones, free from the violence, fear, and the trauma of war. To you who have already departed, you are gone, but not forgotten. And as brief as your sojourn was, may your tiny shrouds, irrespective of the masks, illuminate our mirror of self-reflection. We are our brother's keeper, one divine, universal love. These poems were taken from the book A Broken Record, History on Rewind, War Through the Eyes of the Soul in Poetry and Prose. Winifred Davis, the author. Copyright 2024.